1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. If you hear some articles today that you're interested in following up on, if you go to issm.org or wdma.org, you will find a listing of the articles. I don't know if the click-through works unless you join whatever it is that I'm using for the RSS stream. I think you can actually get the RSS stream for yourself if you want to. But you can at least highlight the name of the article comes up. You can highlight it and search for it, and you find it really easily. So today I want to talk news. And one of the things I'm really excited about is this Google Inc. says, brilliantly simple trick to totally destroy telemarketers. Yeah, okay. You know, that's kind of clickbait. But the truth is that it's a pretty cool idea called Call Screen. Okay, and Call Screen, so you can get that a little bigger. Call Screen, and it's built into the Android on Pixel 3. It's going to, I'm sure, go other places because it's so powerful. The idea is, right now, this morning, I've gotten 3 calls, that I don't know who they were, and they didn't leave a number, and they didn't stay on, they just hung up. I don't know what the point of that is. I have no idea. What's the point in calling a number? But this is what happens when you have free, okay? This is when you have free and unlimited, and there are no costs associated with it. So telemarketing and email both have gone to this world of, I remember running into, not Freeman Godson Jr., but Mr. RFM. He wrote the book on RFM. Anyway, it'll come to me. But I ran into him and I said, you know, we've gone a little beyond RFM. And he said, oh, who cares? Now email is so cheap, we just contact everybody. And that's the kind of thinking that gets us into the situation where you can't use your phone anymore. I tried to contact a friend who changed jobs. He didn't leave his new business phone because it's LinkedIn, and you know, only salespeople put their phone number up there, I guess. And and so I called the company. I called the corporate headquarters in San Francisco, and nobody answers. And I left a message. Nobody called back. Finally, I went on LinkedIn and got found I had 5 or 6 second-level connections at the place, and sent them all invitations to connect. And you know, I really told them too much. I really should have just said, is there a switchboard I can get through to and talk to a real person? But instead, I said I was trying to reach my friend. Eventually, I did. And they were very helpful, and I have to say, very, very helpful. But I annoyed some people because you just can't. I explained to my kids, there was a time when you could actually go online and find people's phone number and call them. Before that, we had phone books. You could actually call a company. You could call directory assistance. There was a lot of ways to actually call people, and people valued that. We used to race in our house to see who could answer the phone first. You know, there was like one phone. And then I remember we got the ability to do other phones. I remember when I was considered high-tech because I could run extension wires to plug second phones in. I did that for my mother-in-law in her bedroom. I put a phone in her bedroom. She had one phone in her house. And she was so thrilled that I could figure that out and go under the basement and up into the baseboard and over and, you know, mount it on the wall. You know, we don't even think like that stuff anymore, right? So anyway, so the phone has gotten completely worthless in a massive way. It's just undermined it. And so Google has this assistant called Call Screen, and when you get a call from a number you don't recognize, which is, of course, already defined, you can click Call Screen. Now, I don't know why you have to click Call Screen. I don't know why you don't just let it go to Call Screen, Google Assistant. It says, hi, the person you're calling is using a screening service from Google, and we'll get a copy of this conversation. Go ahead and say your name and why you're calling. And then real time, this is the key part, real time, it shows you who it is, what they've said, okay, which is because Google's got excellent voice recognition. So the caller either hangs up, or most likely, or you decide whether or not to answer. You know, and I think that's great. But I'd rather have it not even ring until they leave a message. If they don't even leave a message, just don't. And probably they'll get to that someday. Okay? So, now, signs you're practicing ego marketing and how to stop it. And this came out this month. And, you know, it's starts out with how hard it is to break through, and I agree with it. I don't get 10,000 people watching this, even though I don't think there's anybody else doing a marketing news show. So I appreciate if you hit like and share wherever you're viewing it, YouTube, Periscope. If you hit Periscope and subscribe to me on Periscope, then it alerts you when I come on, which is 10 o'clock every morning. But it's nice to get the alert in case I'm dead or something. But anyway, so it's hard to get through. It's hard to break through. Okay, and the first problem, and I've had this problem. I had a client, a business-to-business client, that the guy told his life story, and he showed a picture of a projector and a movie projector to tell you that it was available on 16 millimeter movie film. And I said, "Don't you have it on like VHS?" This was years ago. But still, at least he had it. I said, well, at least you should offer it on something that people could play. Nobody has a 16 millimeter movie projector laying around. That wasn't even, in the movie theaters, it was 36 or 35. It's really 135. And anyway, so I said, why don't you show the good you're doing? Why don't you show the churches you're building in rural Asia, and show the kids around the church and all that? And so he did, and his revenue per piece went up like $1, which is really good. My Jewish list broker pulled it out one day. He said, "What do you think of this?" I said, "Well, more importantly, what do you think of it?" And he said, "Well, I think it's kind of good. I like the idea that somebody cares not only what the customers think, but what God thinks, and feels like he'll be held accountable for doing the right thing." That's the kind of ethics I was talking about. Will you do the right thing for me when I'm your customer? Anyway, so if it's all about you, you're making a mistake. Okay, and we helped Stanley with that a little bit. The second one is you're demanding the world while giving nothing in return. Now, here's the hard part, is that I think I'm giving here. I get up, and I used to kind of hang around, the house and eat a leisurely breakfast, and now I have to get on my motorcycle when it's 40 degrees and hightail it over here so that I can give you some insights into the world that you might not get otherwise. Keith says it's great. We're going to have to promote it someday, but right now you're in on it on the ground floor. But I think this is giving. Now, this may not be giving. This may be only an ego boost. I got my cool Land's End fleece and Land's End turtleneck, and I think to myself, man, I'm a cool guy, and I love seeing myself on TV. Okay, well, if that's all I'm doing, then write me and say, get the heck off the air. Okay? But if these things are helpful, write me. And if you've got other questions, I've already listed out 100 topics that I'd like to talk about, but I would like to put your topic at the head of the list if you want to. Anyway, the last thing is maybe I'm selling stuff people don't want. Although basically the benefit of my services is usually make a lot of money and grow your company in size and profitability. So I think I've been told by thought leaders that's a pretty easy sell. You spend a buck with me, you'll get back $100 or something. Although you can't spend $1. Although with Scott Adams' new app, maybe you could. Just get on for 10 seconds and I'll tell you what's what. Anyway, so the idea is that this is supposed to be interactive. I get on early. I'm learning to see your comments and questions, and that's what we're trying to do. But the basic gist of this article is really brilliant. 3 signs you're practicing ego marketing. Yeah. You don't want to be talking about yourself the whole time. I have a lot of stories, but I'm trying to do it for your benefit. I'm not trying to say that you should put a church on the cover of your catalog or your website. I'm just trying to say that sometimes the message isn't what you think you're saying, and what people are hearing are 2 different things. And I've talked a lot about that. I began in creative, and so it's really easy to do. And I think there's a fourth one that isn't mentioned in this article, and that is assuming that your customers are like you. I see that all the time. Especially in accessory items or jewelry or that sort of thing, or even like Cabela's. Dick and Jim assumed that every customer was a hunter and a fisherman. And in my case, I knew how to fish because I grew up fishing, so I bought my hunting stuff because I cared that it be good quality because I didn't know what I was doing. But they assumed everybody was like them, and they weren't. Only about 5 or 10% crossed over in both categories. So that's the fourth kind of ego marketing. Don't assume your customers are like you are. There's often differences. and you need to think in the head of your customer or get help, call them up. Visit. I talked to their customers and found out what they were thinking. Have a great day. I'm John Miglosh. Click like and share.